6.8 trillion metric tons. That is the exact mass of liquid currently suspended above sea level by human engineering. It is held in place by concrete earthen berms and the constant, anxious supervision of thousands of hydrologists. Gravity would prefer this mass to be at the equator. We prefer it to sit quietly and spin our turbines. Today, the turbines stop. Every dam in the world has just opened its floodgates entirely. The downstream geography is about to be drastically revised. Normally, a dam converts potential energy into electrical current. Water falls, the turbine spins, you toast your bread. The global reservoir system contains roughly 6,800 cubic kilometers of water. That is enough potential energy to run every hospital in Portugal for roughly 7 centuries, assuming you only care about the kinetic yield and not the moisture. Under normal conditions, a dam releases a carefully metered fraction of this volume. 99% of the reservoir just sits there, absorbing sunlight and evaporating. It is a highly controlled, aggressively boring equilibrium. You're currently standing 2 kilometers downstream of the Three Gorges Dam, enjoying a light breeze and completely unaware of the physical laws you're about to be subjected to. The hypothetical begins, the floodgates retract, the global discharge rate instantly climbs to 40 million cubic meters per second. That is the volume of 16 Great Pyramids of Giza hitting the valley floor every second. The riverbed is the first thing to fail. At a flow velocity of 30 meters per second, the shear stress against the channel floor exceeds 4,000 pascals. This is enough localized force to strip asphalt from a highway like wet wallpaper. Topsoil is deleted. The bedrock itself begins to scour. This introduces 3 million tons of suspended sediment into the flow, increasing the fluid density by 12%. The localized wavefront requires a cross-sectional area of 40,000 square meters. That is roughly 6 professional soccer pitches. Which is fine, except that a professional soccer pitch composed entirely of abrasive sludge moving at 90 kilometers per hour is not a soccer pitch under any definition that has ever hosted a tournament. The valley fills, the ambient air is violently displaced. You are now in the way. The water arrives. The kinetic impact of the leading edge registers at 72 megapascals. That is the internal pressure of 80 commercial espresso machines applied simultaneously to your sternum. You are violently swept backward and pinned against the concrete abutment of a highway overpass. Unfortunately, you're still entirely alive and your central nervous system stubbornly continues to consume its 20-watt baseline budget just to process the sheer horror of the local telemetry. This lasts for exactly 4 seconds. Then the secondary surge arrives. You are instantly compressed into a 2-millimeter thick sheet of biological laminate and wet denim. You are a highly localized coat of red paint. The second failure mode is entirely unrelated to your structural deficits. As 6.8 trillion tons of water rushes out of high-elevation reservoirs and spreads across the lower latitudes, the mass distribution of the planet changes. The Earth is a spinning top. The sudden redistribution of mass away from the poles alters the planetary moment of inertia. The conservation of angular momentum demands a correction. Angular momentum is a strict accountant. If a figure skater throws her arms outward, she spins slower. If a planet throws 7 trillion tons of water toward its equator, it also spins slower, albeit with fewer sequins. The worst possible version of this scenario assumes all dams were located exactly at the poles, maximizing the radial distance. In that theoretical maximum, the sudden redistribution of mass would increase the moment of inertia enough to trigger immediate isostatic rebound. Fault lines, violently relieved of immense local weight, snap upward. Earthquakes ripple through the crust, releasing the mechanical equivalent of 40 million standard hospital diesel generators running simultaneously. When the oceans finally settle and the planetary wobble stabilizes, the rotation rate reaches its new equilibrium. A massive shift of mass has occurred, and the Earth has permanently slowed down. The global day has lengthened by exactly 10.2 microseconds. You will not get to enjoy this newly expanded schedule. The highly evolved prefrontal cortex that decided to stack 7 trillion tons of liquid directly above its own habitat is currently drying against a pillar.